2.
Sweet! Hi, I'm Jarrett Hood. That's Dwight Garfield. This is JD Sports. You can find our Twitter @_JD Sports. You can find our personal Twitters there. We tweet from that sometimes. Everything else, the link's going to be underneath. Just click on it. This is our NBA preview. We usually talk about the NFL, but we're going to go into something a little different. We're going to jump right into the offseason. The biggest offseason news, I think we both agree, would be the Spurs getting Aldridge.
Yeah, I mean, that goes without question.
That's huge. That's huge for the Spurs, who were right there on the brink of things as it was. So, obviously, champs 2 years ago. West champs 2 years in a row, 2 years ago.
Rich just get richer, man.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but
and
they just always find a way.
Duncan to kind of smooth till the end of his career, which somehow is going on, and it seems like it doesn't have an end anytime soon. I mean, especially with Aldridge.
Yeah, well, Duncan's just this ageless wonder that just keeps rolling, and
he's amazing to watch.
Right, and I mean, it's looking like, well, they want Aldridge to be that transitional guy when Tim Fine just does hang it up. It's looking like that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like a Tim Duncan with David Robinson situation.
Right.
That's what it's looking like.
You have somebody to kind of roll right into.
Yeah.
Parker's going to be there. Probably Ginobili, you would assume, is going to be there.
Yeah.
The money opens up here in the next couple of years, and they're both kind of open to getting more money type thing. And I think Duncan has a year or two left in him. We'll see how this year plays out. I don't think you can kind of really say if Duncan will retire or not. If they win, he might. But if they get really
say that every year.
But if they get really close, he might not. Right, exactly. So it's one of those things that we'll see how it is going on. I think he was the biggest pickup of the year.
Absolutely.
The biggest non-pickup of the year would probably be DeAndre Jordan going to the Mavericks and then not going to the Mavericks. Wesley Matthews is already there.
Yeah.
And he thought he was teaming up with them. They have a really good team as it is already.
There was a whole lot of what ifs in
Except
Dallas.
now Samuel Dallenberg is going to be their starting center because of that, which is a little sad. But we'll see about them moving forward. But anyways, so he goes back to the Clippers, which is big news for the Clippers because they got, Paul Pierce and Josh Smith.
They pick up Paul Pierce. I think that's a big acquisition for them.
I mean, I've never been a huge Paul Pierce fan, but he gets it done. And then Josh Smith had I think he had a solid season last year. It is what it is. He wasn't anything special, but he wasn't anything terrible at all for Houston. So, and they played deep into the playoffs. So he knows what it is. He knows what it's going to take. I think the Clippers are, with Doc Rivers, actually be a pretty good threat this year. We'll get
right, they're always a threat. I mean, with the whole DeAndre Jordan situation, he completely clowned Dallas. He clowned Dallas. He clowned Mark Cuban. It's kind of sickening.
Do you think there's got to be a different way to do this because this was all signed, quote unquote, and then it wasn't actually signed because you can't actually sign until a certain date. So then this all went down, and 2 weeks before you can actually put a pen in someone's hand and have them put their name on a piece of paper to be on your team. Right. You make an agreement, and then it comes to that day, and he decides to flip flop and go to the Clippers. But I'm saying, is there a better way to do this? Is there a better? Can you change this? Can you fix it?
There is a better way of doing it. Stick to your word. First and foremost, I'm the type of person, if I give you a verbal commitment, I mean, it's just as good as a written contract. You are saying, I'm all aboard, I'm all in. But then all of a sudden, we're talking about how, the Clippers are, keeping him from talking to Mark Cuban. They barricade his house and he's not allowed to have this communication with the Mavericks.
I'm on your side. He shook his hand and said, I want to be a Maverick.
That's a wrap.
I'm going to be a Maverick. Over. He tweeted about being a Maverick. I got you. I understand. I'm on your side. But... And I'm with you that it's disrespectful, and I think that he should have kept to his word and been a Maverick. But in saying that, does he not have a right to, because there was that time period for him to change his mind, to be a human being and change his mind? I mean, what if you...
I feel like you had that opportunity before word got out that, no, this was a done deal.
I understand.
I
understand, but what if it was you, and what if you were playing with your boys, and then your boys call you up and you're like, hey, man, why are you going to go play with these other guys who are pretty good and pretty cool, but they're our competition? Why don't you come back and play with us? And then you kind of, over time, start thinking about it, start thinking about how everything can get better. You start patching things up with guys that CP3, who they apparently had issues before, but CP3 called him, they patched things up. He turns it around, DeAndre Jordan turns it around. Doc Rivers turns around, talks to DeAndre Jordan, all that. He starts getting in his mind. He says to himself, well, hey, I like where I'm at. I like what I'm doing. Why don't I just, stay where I'm at? I'm with you. I'm 100. I'm on your side. I'm just saying, for trying to be open-minded.
Right.
I mean, it's not unreasonable or crazy to think, right? Like he changed his mind.
You know what I think it was, and you know what people can say what they want to say about it. What I think it was all a psychological thing, and psychologically, DeAndre couldn't handle the situation. I don't think he could have handled the pressure because they pretty much all but said, you know what? No, this is where DeAndre said he wants to go. He's signed, sealed, delivered without actually being signed. He was all about it, and now all of a sudden he's getting all this chatter from his boys, from his friends, from his former teammates, from coach, talk about, oh, just come back, and he, you know, the whole psychological thing where he's like, well, maybe I should just stick to the comfort thing, and I'm not ready to be what the Mavericks wanted me to be, which was a Shaquille O'Neal for the Lakers.
Right.
He's not that guy. He's more comfortable being in a system where he can be an asset and not the star of a situation. He wasn't ready to take on the Mavericks with a Dirk Nowitzki on his way out. He wasn't ready for that.
Williams and Dirk would have been, but
it would have been something to deal with.
But instead, it's CP3 and Blake Griffin in his.
And it's the same old story. And you know, you got Paul Pierce, which it's a solid upgrade. I believe he's going to be starting. I'm not 100% sure at this point. But regardless, picking up a Paul Pierce is a solid acquisition. But in the end, I think it's going to be the same old story with the Clippers the past couple of years. You had your moment, and you're not living up to it. So why all of a sudden should we believe that anything's going to be any different? I don't think it's going to be any different. It's going to be the same old story.
Other offseason acquisitions: Rondo and Bellinelli going to Sacramento with
it's decent pickups.
With George Karl, which is interesting. I've already heard that Rondo and George Karl might not be getting along. Boogie Cousins.
He's always having an issue.
He's still there though, and him, Rondo, and Bellinelli might be able to get something done. We'll see. They're gonna have to turn around. They're gonna have to turn around quick.
The problem with the Kings is
they're in the West.
They're in the West. They have too much stacked against them.
I don't think they're gonna be able to turn around just because of the competition in there.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and they only have Rondo to a 1-year deal on top of that. Right. So I mean, you're pretty much just rolling with the punches with him. I mean, they're going to get some more tickets because of him, but when he leaves next year, what are we talking about again?
Right. We talked about the Mavs already, Wesley Matthews and Darren Williams. They're going to be a little better, but, you know, Samuel Dallenberg, because the whole DeAndre Jordan thing kind of made everything a little shaky for them.
The Mavericks can do some work despite the fact that they have Samuel Dallenberg as their center.
I like the roster overall.
He's a solid, you know, defensive piece. He's more of that traditional center that you don't see in the NBA anymore. But they have, outside of him being that defensive presence, they have a solid lineup overall. Their bench, I don't really, you know, feel like their bench is anything spectacular whatsoever, but I feel like they can hold their own moving forward.
Luis Scola going to Toronto. That's interesting. I always think that Toronto is blown up to be this big team, but I don't think they're ever going to be able to get past Atlanta. I don't think they will really be able to get past the Bulls in a series, and I definitely don't think they'd be able to get past Cleveland in a series. So, I mean, that's what you have to do to get past in the East, and if you can't get past those guys, you're definitely not going to win against the team in the West.
Right.
So,
I mean, the thing with Toronto is they picked up who they can considering their circumstance, considering where they're at, considering who the franchise is. They're not going to get the big free agents, but I feel like that is a solid pickup for them. Will it put it over the hump? I don't know, but I think they can at least match what they were last year.
Well, Jeremy Lin going to the Hornets.
Thank God we got rid of him.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, though. Jeremy Lin, his hairstyle's awkward.
I don't know.
Did you
What's
see
all
it?
about Linsanity?
It looked bad.
That's Harrison.
I don't like it.
It's a mess. He's a mess.
He might like it, though. Tyson Chandler and Brandon Knight going to the Suns. The Suns, they're in the West. It's going to make it hard, but they're competitive, and they have been for a while.
I feel like they're just a product of where they at. It's all about location. I feel like they had their moment several years ago when they had the Steve Nash. You know, they had the Amari. They had their moment, and now they're in rebuild mode. They got rid of Dragic, which, you know, that's a whole different other topic, but I didn't understand that. You get a Tyson Chandler, I feel like you're just trying to fill out the roster at this point. He's just floating around from team to team. Obviously, the Mavericks didn't want you. They went with Samuel Dallenberg over you, so what did that say about you?
I want to talk about Golden State quick. Do you think they could repeat? We have to. Do you think they could repeat?
No, because of the fact that they're in the West and they are facing up against so much competition. You know, we got the Mavericks, we got the Spurs, we got, you know, the Grizzlies, we got the Clippers. There's so much in the West that I feel like it's too much, and perhaps it's not something they can overcome this time around. They did last year. Granted, we can't take that away from them. They deserve it. They a great team to watch. I enjoy watching them. They're one of, if not outside of my team, they're my other favorite team to watch
they're
because
fun to watch.
They're very enjoyable. If they can get to the finals, in theory, if they can get there, I think they can take out anybody in the East.
I agree.
Oh, absolutely. Even with a stacked Cleveland team that's healthy.
I would like to see a stacked Cleveland team, and I think that Cleveland might be able to beat them if Love and Kyrie is healthy. But it would be fun to watch, and it'd be more interesting than what we got last year with LeBron having to do it all.
Yeah.
Golden State, I like watching them play. Repeating, going back to back is really hard, especially when you have teams like the Spurs getting better and the Clippers. Even though it's two older players and just getting DeAndre Jordan back, it's still it's making a run at least for this year at you. Everybody's gonna give you your toughest game. It doesn't matter if it's in the East, and it doesn't matter if you're playing the Wizards or the Sixers or if you're playing the Kings. You're gonna get their toughest game because you're the champs from last year, and you're gonna get that all season long. Plus, going into the playoffs, it's just going to be that much harder. You might not catch the breaks that you were able to catch throughout the playoffs last year with the injuries to other teams that got you in the position that you got into, and you took advantage of it because you have Steph Curry, who was the MVP. He played like an MVP.
You got the win.
Exactly. You were the champs. Speaking of Cleveland, if they stay healthy, could you see them being the champs? You don't believe in them. You're not a LeBron believer, so.
I mean, you see the jersey. I'm not going to hide it.
Doesn't mean you don't like LeBron, but I mean, and you don't like LeBron's.
I don't root for LeBron. Like, some people have their teams that they go against. Some people have their players that they go against. LeBron just so happens to be that person that I go against. I
like Kobe.
I like
LeBron. I'm not one of these people who just hates on.
I'm gonna use a hater, so I'm a hater against LeBron. He's a hater. I'm not a hater against LeBron. I understand how good he is as a player. That doesn't mean I have to root for him.
No.
And there's other things off the court that I haven't agreed with in years past. Granted, I understand he's his model citizen all of a sudden, but we won't even talk about all this other stuff.
Over the last 4 or 5 years, he has changed his.
Congratulations. And you know what? Good for him. I don't hate him.
No, as he should.
Good.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm glad he's gotten better as a person, and he's gotten rid of, riding bicycles into the arena that said King on it. I'm glad he got over that.
Right.
But in saying that, I don't necessarily have to root for him. Do I think that they can win? Yeah, absolutely at this point. And that's why if they are healthy and he has the help, the fact that he was able to do what he was able to do without a Kyrie and a Kevin Love, granted he does have a Tristan Thompson, he's not signed yet. What's the deal with this guy? I don't understand. My man, he was offered 5 years, like $80 million, and my man turns it down.
We talked about it earlier. I said he couldn't. I said he couldn't even get $60 million somewhere else. Where did you say?
Oh my God, I don't even. It's definitely less than that. He had a solid playoff run in the absence of Kevin Love. Look, we can't take that away from him. We're acting like they're talking like he's an all-star player where he needs to make this money. I understand the whole, the new TV deals are going to start rolling out. I understand that. But at the same time, get your money. But in saying that, what type of money do you think you are actually worth? What do you think you're going to get,
It's like
man?
the whole J.R. Smith situation where J.R. Smith was offered so much and he went he wasn't offered. He had an option to go back to Cleveland for so much. He decided to opt out, go other places, didn't get it, and came back and signed for less money. I don't think Tristan Thompson can go to other places and get around $60 million. Because if you're offered $80 million, take the $80 million.
Absolutely. I feel like any team would love to have a Tristan Thompson on their team. Do I think any team wants to pay him $80 million? No, absolutely not. And speaking of J.R. Smith, can I just say that's a whole nother joke because everybody's like, oh, well, J.R. came back to Cleveland. He wants to roll. And he's like, yeah, I'm back in. I'm all in. Bro, the reason why you went back to Cleveland is because nobody was willing to pay you the market value that you thought you were worth. Not at all. So you go back to Cleveland, you make less money, and now all of a sudden you're all in for Cleveland. No, bro. Nobody wanted you for the value you thought you were worth. So stop it.
The one thing I'll say about Cleveland, it's a big if, but if everybody stays healthy, if you can get Love to stay healthy, Kyrie to stay healthy, you can get LeBron to stay healthy, and you can keep most of your role players healthy throughout the season, I think you're going to see them in the finals, and I think they can win the finals. I want to see it happen.
I can't say no.
I love me some LeBron, and I want to see him be able, especially if he has a good, healthy team around him. I really think that he can pull it off. I'm rooting for them to do it this year. I think they can, but I want to get into the West because that's such an interesting. The reason I think that Cleveland can do it in a 7-game series against the West team is because if everybody is and I know it's so hard and I just talked about health, but if everybody's healthy going into the playoffs, seed 1 through seed 8 is going because the new format is going to be
base on this.
is going to be so fun to watch the West. They're just going to be punching each other right in the head, and then by the time Cleveland gets to them, if Cleveland's healthy and rolls through the East easily, then you know what I mean. They're going to get a beat up West team, and that's why I think Cleveland has a good shot at winning if everybody stays healthy on their squad. But how do you feel about the West? How do you feel about the new format? I think I like the new format.
I'm a fan of the new format.
In the sense of it's going to be fun to watch the West go at it.
Absolutely. It's not quite where I wanted to be, where we would want to see, just the top teams in general, the top 6 teams in the league. 1 through 16. I would kind of like to see that, just run through. But at the same time, it would be great. But at the same time, I understand why the NBA didn't want to go that route, because of the fact that we don't want to just, ignore conferences whatsoever.
Right.
And then, we were talking about it earlier. The West is already so top heavy. What's going to happen if we do 1 through 16, top 16 into the playoffs? What's going to happen is that more players, even more than they are now, are going to flock to the West, because those are the teams that are, so top heavy and, dominant.
Yeah.
The East, in comparison, is nothing, which is why a team like Cleveland can just roll right through to the finals.
Right.
And, potentially, I think they can do it again. I'm not making any predictions right now today. But in saying that, I can say, they can get to that. I said last year, because I was a hater or whatever, because I felt that I said I will take the field against Cleveland in the finals last year.
Yeah.
And, it ended up happening. But what my point is that I felt like the top 8 teams, well, maybe even 6, maybe I'll cut it down, in the West, on paper, was much better than a fully stacked Cleveland team.
Okay.
And at that point, they weren't a fully stacked Cleveland team. They had lost Kyrie in the first round. They lost Kevin Love. So I was willing to take anybody on the West because of the depth on every single team.
Just off the top of your head, top 3 teams in the West.
God, that's so hard. Let's go with San Antonio.
Yeah.
I think you got to throw, as much as I don't want to say it, a Clipper team in there.
Yep.
Number 3, I can't even disrespect them. Obviously, the Warriors are in that conversation
Right.
as well. I think that goes without question. The Splash Brothers are amazing. I feel like they can hold on, and they do have, solid bench play as well. So I think they're in that conversation.
I'm excited to see the Clippers and Golden State all season, but what I'm really excited to see is San Antonio. When we're talking about the West, I think that they have the roster. I think they have the team to go to the finals. I like to see them versus Cleveland.
That would be so fun. One more time.
Yeah, and
Duncan, LeBron.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's fun to watch them in the West anyways going through it, because the Mavericks, we talked about the Mavericks might be half decent. I like to see them. We haven't even said anything about Houston, and look at what they did last year. Yeah. So we're talking about the Clippers. I mean, there's so many things that could happen. The West is wide open. Denver might be better. They're low key. They didn't make the playoffs last year, but you never know. It's just the West is so in and out. Portland lost everybody, but you still got Dame Lillard.
Portland, I feel so bad for Damian Lillard. We were talking about this earlier. We both love Damian Lillard, and the fact that they lost everybody and Damian signed that extension is just sad, because they're clearly going to fall off. They're not going to be competitive whatsoever. Another team we haven't even talked about in the West, Kevin Durant is coming back.
Yes.
OKC, they're in that conversation.
Yes.
Maybe they're in that top 3 conversation.
Russ having a great season he had last year. I've never been a big Russ fan, but he had a really big season last year. KD, man, you can't deny what he does.
You can't. You know what they were talking about last year?
Healthy.
They were talking about maybe they should get the ring last year until KD went down. Is it their time? I don't know. It's far too early, but
new coach Billy Donovan.
They're definitely in this mix. Absolutely. Can't cross them out.
Well, so we were talking about the West, and we were talking about Cleveland in the East. Anybody else in the East, like if you could quickly run over, because I would say teams to watch out for outside of Cleveland would be Washington or
I can't say Washington right now just because of the fact that
I'm not a huge believer in Toronto, but Toronto's going to make the playoffs. I like what I've seen from the Heat. But the Bulls are the best team outside of Cleveland if healthy. Derrick Rose, you never know if he's going to stay healthy or not. So we'll see. We'll see about that moving forward. But who's your team in the East to watch outside of Cleveland?
I really don't want to say the Bulls just because I'm tired of every year saying this is the Bulls' year to go over the hump. But then an injury happens. Then we meet LeBron, and then LeBron says no, not today. Go home. I don't know.
The one team that we did not talk about was Atlanta.
is funny because I don't know if they a flash in the pan. They lost the center, Carl. So they lost a key piece in him. So I don't know. I don't. In the East, I feel like Atlanta can continue to be that competitive asset. Do I think that they are much better than the Bulls? No, not whatsoever. I just feel like if we're talking East and who I think outside of Cleveland can compete, I'm looking at Chicago. I'm looking at, as you said, a Miami Heat that we'd even touch base on. They did very well. They're going to get Chris Bosh back. He's healthy. Good for him. Wish no ill will against him. Yeah, so I feel like... Again, it's going to be the same story as it was last offseason. It's going to be, we're talking Cleveland, we're talking Chicago, we're talking Miami. Everybody else is just, we'll see what happens. You said Washington. I don't know how they're going to work now without a Paul Pierce because he was a solid asset to that team. He did wonders for them. So they might fall off.
Milwaukee took a step forward last year.
You want to talk about a team that was fun to watch? I enjoyed watching them in the playoffs.
Parker will be back this year.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching them in the playoffs. They got Jabari back.
Yep, exactly. I like Parker a lot.
I think they could be in the mix as well.
The last thing I want to touch on is obviously you can see he's a Lakers fan. I'm a Sixers fan. How do you feel about your Lakers? How do you feel about where they're at right now, and how do you feel about the direction of the organization?
Oh, see, you gotta go there. Yeah, I was just going. You know what? It's funny you said the organization because I was just gonna let that go because I can go on and on.
No, I want to get.
That sounds like a future. I'm just saying.
No, and then we'll talk about the Sixers. Talk to me quick, just because we both have interest and they're both pretty popularized franchises. Yeah. The Lakers especially. So we'll get into that first. Where do you right now? Are you happy with where they're at, or are you happy with the future where they look to be going?
We had it set up that we were going to get a LaMarcus Aldridge. Obviously, that didn't work. Why didn't that work? Because of who's in charge right now. Good old Jimbo. Good old Jimbo Bus. I don't like Jim. You know what? You know what's funny? Is that I just heard today is that Jeannie Bus, whom I have all the faith in the world. I feel like
Jeannie Bus.
She's all in on the Lakers and holding up that legacy that her father, Dr. Bus, laid the groundwork for. Right. And that's why I love her, and she actually, has more of... She's more into what can work for this team, unlike her brother. And she even said he knows how much time he has left to get it right. And they were like, oh, well, do you feel like you would fire him? And she said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about her because, granted it's her brother, but he's not getting it done. Well, he did get LaMarcus Aldridge.
It's going to be time.
The coaching situation's been a mess. The LaMarcus Aldridge situation was embarrassing for us.
Yes.
That's why we drafted D'Angelo Russell because we were like, oh, we don't need to get the big. We can get D'Angelo, which we haven't had a solid point guard in a minute.
Yes.
So let's go with that. Yes. We get LaMarcus. We got Kobe. We bring Meta World Peace back. They end up signing Lou Williams. On paper, we look better than we did last year at this point in time. On paper. Are we going to be competing? No, not at all. And I'm just calling it what it is. But the biggest issue that I have with us is Jim Bus. And I'm counting down the days until he's gone because I have faith in Jeannie.
Do you think Kobe's around when they become good again?
No, and that's what's very upsetting.
And did you think if they got Aldridge this year, Kobe would have been around and they would have been good?
They would have been competing. They would have made the playoffs. Would they have been number one seed now?
Do you think Kobe would have been a big part of it?
I feel like he would have had to have been.
I love Kobe, but I don't see him being able to carry a team into the playoffs. And I hope he stays healthy, but he's obviously hasn't. I think he's disrespected by saying he's a 90-some player in the league.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started.
I think he's better. I think he's well better than that. But at the same time, I understand that he's been injured, and I understand that really the talent around him isn't all that great.
So you mean tell me you can name 90 other players still?
I told you I couldn't. I told you I disagree that he could go there. I'm not going to sit here and try to break it down and tell you his exact number, but I just feel like I don't think I can get to 93 and Kobe Bryant's name is just popping up.
I can't get to 20.
It seems impossible to me. I think that the Lakers are in the right direction. I think they got to figure out what they're going to do with Kobe. Could you see Kobe playing for another franchise, or do you think Kobe's going to stay a Laker forever?
I think he flirted with it in years past saying he was going to be a Clipper before we got Pau Gasol. I don't think he's going to be, this is the NFL. We see quarterbacks going from team to team to team. I think this is a situation where it is like a Michael Jordan before he, did retire and then retire again, where he just settles in. He says, you know what, it is what it is. I'm done. He's going to do like Magic did and just, settle in and just stop.
But do you think that has to happen this year, at the end of this year, at the end of next year?
Kobe said he's not going to be done this year. I think at this point, it's next year where he's going to do his little Derek Jeter swan song and he's just going to say farewell to everybody. I think next year is when he's going to do it.
Well, I know you have a lot to say on this topic. We're going to talk about the Sixers quick. Sam Hinkie and the tank plan. We are now 3 years into it. This is now the
is that it? It's only 3.
3. I think it's 3 years into it now. Is it 3?
I don't even know. As a non-fan, I feel like it's been forever.
And it's gonna finally start turning around. You got to get some.
Bro, I hear this every year.
You got to get Embiid healthy, but everybody else seems like they're healthy. Everybody else seems like they're coming around. Okafor and Noel. It's just preseason, but they look like they're playing pretty well together. I think that down the future, you can figure out the point guard situation. You can draft it.
You had it figured out, but anyway.
I think that they're building a pretty good base right now. I know you completely disagree with me.
I will forever disagree with you because of the fact that, let's just get into it. You know what? Because every year we hear about how, no, the Sixers are young. These young guns, it's in the East. They're going to make some noise. They're going to get healthy. And then what happens?
I don't know if they're going to make noise because
every single year we talk about how the Sixers are going to... It's next year. It's next year. It's next year. At what point are you Sixers fans going to stop saying it's next year and it's going to be like, okay...
I don't know if it's even next year. I think it's the year after that because I think right now they have...
You said that last year.
I think they have talent right now. I think they have talent right now that is they have a talent, but they are young. So right now, their A talent is young, and they're not going to flourish to be their number one and best players yet. But I think over the next year or the next year after that, the A talent is going to turn into A talent, and all this B talent they have around them will fall back and be backups, or they'll get traded for more
That's where I was going.
more talent around them. But if they can build the system up right, I do think the potential is there.
System sounds like it's a typical Philly thing.
Well, everybody's system, but you have to do it right. You have to take the next steps. I like what they've done so far. Overall, there's been a couple things that disagree.
So you like getting rid of MCW?
At the time, yeah, I thought it was okay, and we'll see if it works out. But
I think with you Sixers fans because you flip flop on trading and keeping players all the time.
I was never against the MCW thing because I say it all the time. Point guard is the deepest position in the NBA. So yes, is he an elite talent? Maybe. Does he have the possibility to be an CP3? Yeah. And
so why not find out?
No, and I'm not saying that you come across that a dime a dozen at the same time. Point guards are everywhere in this league, and
yet they don't have one.
At the moment, but they're not looking to go win a championship in 2015, 2016.
They look like they want to keep being this lottery pick. That's what I see.
For a year, maybe one more after that, but I don't see it going past 2 more years. I think within the next 2 to 3 years, the Sixers will finally be right in the right direction, and maybe it'll be sooner. Hopefully it is sooner. I'd like to see it.
I'm only laughing because I feel like I've been hearing the same swan song with the Sixers for the past 4 or 5 years now. I keep hearing it's going to be 2 or 3 years. We're going to get better. Then every 2 years they trade the future of their franchise.
I like the direction of the Sixers. I think they've had a direction a little longer than the Lakers have had, and I think that the Lakers are going to try to do the quick fix and rebuild. And if you look at it in the sense of the Sixers have never been able to pull, like the Sixers, they drafted Dr. J. The Sixers, they drafted Moses Malone. The Sixers, they drafted Iverson. You know what I mean? It's hard for them to pull in free agencies, and the Lakers overall have gotten free agents, but as of late haven't gotten free agents all that well, and then the ones they've missed on. So I think that the Sixers are younger, and the Sixers are more talented, and both teams are young. But I do think that the Lakers have a better chance of getting talent like Aldridge, which they didn't get this year, but the upcoming ones with the money opening.
They're getting interviews.
The Sixers have a lot of money. The Sixers have the most money actually.
They've had a lot of money for a couple of years now.
You're exactly right, but so that's who's to say they can't go out and figure out how to get a point guard or start paying some of these A talent. The better price so that they can get more talent around them.
So
in the future.
I guess my question with Philadelphia, because year after year after year we're talking about how they got this money, is it that people just don't want to play? Is it the organization? Is it the city? Why don't players want to play? Why don't big free agents want to go to Philadelphia and play? If the money's there, then what's the problem?
I don't think it's just Philadelphia. I think it's all big markets now. I mean, if you look at New York, Melo, yes, he's there, but outside of him, they're struggling. Brooklyn, I mean, they couldn't get it together. Miami was the last really big city to really put it together, but they only put it together because LeBron and Chris Bosh decided to go there. You look at San Antonio is a small market city playing pretty well.
Golden State.
I mean, they come from San Francisco, but they have a small market mentality, like you said. OKC, Philadelphia, they're an Eagles town, you know what I mean, and they love their Phillies, and their Flyers are a big deal. And so, I mean, the Sixers have to compete for second or third in that city, and where Oklahoma City, you know what I mean, you don't have to worry about that. Or Washington, you're only competing with a hockey team. In the NFL, you look at Aaron Rodgers, you know, in Milwaukee, or Brett Favre when he was with the Green Bay Packers. You know, it's one of those things where it's easier to excel in the small market sometimes.
No, I hear you. I also hear a lot of excuses, but you know, when we're still doing this show 3 years from now, Dwight, go back, you know, replay this, because we want to see if it's still saying 2-3 years from now.
Yeah, we'll
2 or 3 years from now.
We'll see.
Because I feel like I wish we would have gotten this on camera, because I've been hearing this for a minute.
The old saying.
I've been hearing, what was the saying? Yeah, you was about to say the old saying that you've been saying for the past 2 years? Go ahead, say it. Say it one more again.
2 years away from being 2 years away.
2 years away from being 2 years away.
Yeah,
so are we in year 3 of that then?
They were 2 years away from being 2 years away. That was 2 years ago, so now they're finally 2 years away.
I don't know what gets on my nerves more, Eagles fans or Sixers fans.
At least I'm consistent, though. I said 2 or 3 years. In the last 2 years, I said 2 years away from being 2 years away. Last year, I said 2 years away from being 2 years away. And now
you consistently get on my nerves with your teams. That's what you consistently.
No, I'm one of the few people who have complete optimism, even though overall in the back of my mind
it's to a fault. I always think it's to a fault.
I always think it's gonna blow up, and I have pessimistic thoughts when it comes to that.
You've heard me attack my Cowboys. You just heard me attack my Lakers.
When I'm talking on camera, I'm always optimistic.
You've heard me attack my Cowboys. You just heard me attack my Lakers.
Absolutely.
To a fault, you don't attack your teams. You're always just, no, I still have this little bit of hope. That's just the Philadelphia way of keeping hope, and that's why you guys stay mediocre, because you don't accept anything but mediocrity. Because you just say, you know what, we know we can get better. But it doesn't work that way.
I'm not accepting mediocrity, but I'm not just saying we should fire everybody.
You don't have to be that way, but you have to hold accountability to your franchises, and that's what you've not been doing.
Yes, but if the GM had a 5-year plan, then I would like to see that 5-year plan go through. And listen, but I don't know. I'm patient. Like Chip Kelly, we talked about it before. I'm not a guy who thought when they were 0-2 that they should have fired Chip Kelly. He won 20 games in 2 years, and I think there is something to that. But like you were saying, maybe they should fire him, or people were talking about they should fire him. That stuff to me is ridiculous. Because to me, in sports, there's nobody giving anybody time anymore. And I would rather give Sam Hinkie his 5-year plan. And you know what? If it doesn't work and it blows up in their face, it's better than what they were doing before, because back until they made it almost to the Eastern Conference Finals, were they gonna if they beat the Celtics, were they gonna beat the Heat? No. So when they blew that Sixers,
that's hypothetical.
Would they beat the Heat?
That's hypothetical.
Would they have ever beaten that Heat team? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, but I'm saying, could you have continued to build upon that?
If there's anybody that watches this that truly thinks that Sixers team would have beat that Heat team, please let me know.
No, it has nothing to do. No,
but my point is, I'm not against them blowing it up, because I would rather them build up and try to get 2 or 3 superstars through the draft,
and then trade them away like MCW. All I'm saying is that y'all been living on this hope thing since Iverson, bro. That was in 2001. This is 2015.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because I think, as I said before about the point guard position, it's the deepest position in the NBA. I would rather get a bunch of big guys. Hopefully they can work out as stars. If Embiid works out, you'll have Noel and you'll have Okafor, and then hopefully you can build up some some wing players around them and some guards around them, and we'll see.
You know what? You just answered this for me. Sixers fans definitely irritate me more than Eagles fans, because at least Eagles fans are a little more realistic, but Sixers fans.
I don't understand how I'm not realistic about it. I don't understand how.
It's right. Keep rebuilding. Just keep doing it. Why not?
They,
you an analytics guy? Is this what the problem is?
No, I'm not necessarily an analytics guy, but Houston's doing well with the analytics. I'm interested to see if it works. I'm interested to see if it works in Philadelphia. It worked for Golden State, and it's working for Houston.
Golden State also has pieces that can play.
Well, but maybe that's what I'm saying. But you don't know if the Sixers. You did 3-4 years ago. These guys are 6, 7, 8 years in the league. You know what I mean? Curry didn't just come out of college 2 years ago. Curry's been in the league for 5 or 6 years.
And we'd be saying the same thing about Philadelphia. They stopped trading people every 3 years.
But they traded one guy out of the 4 that they have. They drafted 5 and they traded 1, and you're saying that they traded everybody?
They got rid of Drew Holiday. They got rid of MCW.
Yes, but
they got rid of
the Drew Holiday, the Iguodala. MCW is the only guy that they've traded since they've rebuilt from that team. Are you giving the Lakers any time?
As a whole, we're not, because we're yelling, we're screaming, we're kicking, we're fighting, we're saying, what is going on? When is Jim getting the hell out the door? Because we feel like Jeannie can do some work.
And how's that doing? Because Jim Buss has been there for how long?
And because his sister hasn't given up on him, because that's family, I understand. But
you're kicking and screaming doing. It's not changing anything. So what am I going to
instead, I'm just going to sit here with my hands in between my legs and say,
I'd rather sit back and trust the process and hope that the system works out. And if it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out at the end of the process, then I will say, hey, you know what? It didn't work out. We got to move on. You got to get a new person in there and figure it out.
You keep living on this on the system. It's a typical Philly thing. I understand. It's in the town. It's the Chip Kelly system. It's the Philly system. It's, just let it go. We're going to see what happens. And if it happens, great. If not, then we just rebuild again. I get it. It's a Philly thing. Brotherly love.
I mean, there's no accepting. You can't. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Like, kicking and screaming about it's not going to change it. I'm not going to call for everybody's head. I don't do that.
Look, we can just keep going on and on and on about this Philly thing.
Right.
I'm not going to agree with you. You're not going to agree with me.
Right.
So I think at this point, we should just stop it where it's at,
right.
See what happens, and that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the end of the NBA preview. This was I'm Jarrett Hood. That's Dwight Garfield. You can find the JD Sports Twitter @_JD Sports. You can find our personal Twitters there. Thank you for watching.
Take it easy.